Okay, so you've decided to build a storage facility. The first question is, okay, where do I build it, right? Which market, which sub-market, perhaps, within that market? In your backyard is always good, not literally, of course, but in the city that you're in, that's where you know the area, perhaps you know the zoning authority people, perhaps your brother-in-law sits on the city council, can help with zoning, whatever the case might be. Your own home market is very good if it in fact happens to be a market that you should be building in. At Jernigan Capital, we are interested in making loans to people who are building in roughly the top 20, 25 markets in the US. And I will go in and explain why. I say roughly, or generally is another term we use, because there are some top 20 markets that we're really not interested in. Some of the Iron Belt cities where they're actually losing population. They don't have the people moving around. In fact, household incomes aren't as good as we'd like to see. And so as you can imagine, we're more interested in kind of the East Coast, West Coast, Sun Belt, the top 20 or 25 markets in those areas. We can start at Boston, greater Manhattan, New York area, on down to Philly, Washington, Baltimore, maybe Charlotte, Atlanta, almost all of Florida, except for the tertiary markets, almost all of Texas, again, except for the tertiary markets. Outside of Cook County and Chicago is probably fine. Denver, California, we like San Francisco, Bay Area, LA, Orange County, North San Diego County. Phoenix gets a lot of storage built, so you have to be careful there with the softness. But anyway, those are generally the markets that we're interested in making loans at Jernigan Capital. And so if you're in one of those markets, then you got to look at the submarket. Let's take Washington, D.C., or Northern Virginia is a great market, one of my favorites in the country. There you've got what makes up a great market. You got good household incomes, you got a lot of households, you got people moving in, moving out, you got people moving around. And because the cost of living there is so high, the cost of owning a home or renting an apartment, people tend to live in small spaces. And because of that, they need storage. And so in Northern Virginia, if you could identify a site, if you know Shirley Highway 395 coming down from the river there, the Beltway 495, anywhere in that 495, 395 area would be a wonderful submarket to build a storage facility because barriers to entry are tremendous. The first barrier to entry that makes it such a good market to develop in is the cost of ground. People are always somewhat taken aback when I say the higher the piece of ground, the better. The higher cost, the more it costs, the better. That's counterintuitive, of course, but the reason is fewer people are going to be there scouting for storage facility sites if it's really expensive ground. Now, you just can't go pay an outlandish amount of money for ground without the numbers working. The numbers have to work. So what I like to say, if you just use the old pyramid, and if you try to operate in the top part of that pyramid, if you go into your market and you want to find the best site and you want to pay the most amount of money where the numbers work in that submarket, obviously you don't want to overpay, but the point I'm trying to make, don't be shy about paying a lot of money for a storage facility site if the numbers work, because that's a huge barrier to entry. If you're not in a market that works, if you're not in generally one of these top 20 or 25 markets that I talked about, today we have Google Earth, fantastic software that lets you sit at your desk and look for sites in another city across the country. So in your backyard, in your own home market's desirable, but with Google Earth, a little bit of travel, you can easily find, well, I shouldn't say easily, because that's not right. You should, with a whole lot of hard work and a good budget, be able to find a storage facility site to build a good storage facility on. So we're going to talk about what kind of facility you would want to build as we go forward. But going back to the submarket, over all the years in the business, I've talked about You really want to be at Main and Main. And I'm changing my thinking on that just a little bit now. Because of Google, because of the internet, because of search, because of the fact that 75% of the customers, when I last year at CubeSmart, 75% of our customers were doing some research on our website prior to renting from us. 75%. So think about that. That is, we've become a destination. We're no longer, we never were an impulse buy, but I used to say, be on the main street, 25, 30, 35,000 cars a day would be fantastic. Try to locate yourself between where people live and where they work. Down the street from the nicest mall in town is really good. But what I'm changing now is you don't need those 25 or 30,000 cars each day because we've become a destination. So that is something to keep in mind. You've got to be on a good platform, if you will, from a management standpoint. But we will talk about that as we go along. Yes, question. Other barriers to entry. Sure. Zoning. You want to, your best sites are the toughest sites to get zoned. So you can go into a market and look for zoning, and you can find sites in industrial land, industrial zoning. That's not where you want to be. That's not where the people are living. That's not where your customer is. And those are the sites that, yeah, you can get it. You can get a special use permit to build a storage facility there, but that's not where you want to be. You want to be on a commercial street, a commercial site. And another barrier to entry is site selection. You don't want to go where everyone else is going, because the day you open up, you don't want another one being built across the street and another one being opened up down the street. So it's another barrier to entry that you want to be thinking about. Keep in mind, you want to find the best site that you possibly can find, because that's where you create your value. That's where you create most of your value, is right in the site. We'll talk about building the facility in a few minutes. We'll talk about managing it. And of course, there's long-term aspects of owning a facility. If you get the right site, you've won the match, if you will. You've won you're going to end up with a great storage facility with long-term ownership. Or if you want to sell it, you're going to make a tremendous profit somewhere along the way, if in fact you've got the right site. Okay, let's pause for a minute. And after this, we will go in and talk about what to build. Thank you.